Hello and welcome to BOI Weekly. I'm Kayode Alayande. The legislature is an institution which represents the common and collective interests of the citizens through the enactment of laws and the exercise of oversight functions on the activities of the executive arm of government and, by extension, agencies of government. A part of this oversight function entails, amongst other things, keeping the executive establishments responsible and accountable, promoting rationality and efficiency in the formulation and administration of public policy. Also, the people can reap the dividends of democracy. For this cause, the House Committee on Industry, led by the chairman, Honorable Abubakar Moriki, recently visited the Bank of Industry headquarters to engage the executive management of the bank with a view to appraising their activities and operations, offer advice, encouragement, and physically visit some of the businesses that have benefited from BOI's interventions. Aside from the interaction with the executive management of BOI, the Honorables visited some of the bank's supported projects here in Lagos and in River States. Stay close for all the details.
The agricultural sector due to limited processing and preservation capacity. This results in high food prices and food importation with its attendant effects on the nation's foreign reserves. To enable Nigerians optimize the benefits from the country's vast agricultural products such as cassava, oil palm, rice, tomatoes and others, the Bank of Industry has launched a 5 billion naira cottage agro-processing fund, the CAP Fund. Customers can access the fund to establish plans to process our various agro-produce into food products or intermediate raw materials for industries at a single-digit interest rate of 9% per annum. For more information on the CAP Fund, please visit www.boinigeria.com/capfund. Bank of Industry, developing Nigeria's agro-processing industry through the CAP Fund.
A delegation of the House of Representatives Committee on Industry, led by the chairman, Honorable Abubakar Moriki, all seated at the boardroom of the Bank of Industry's headquarters here in Lagos.
They can also
They are here to meet with the executive management of the bank to fulfill the obligation of their oversight function, after which they would visit firsthand some of the companies that the bank has supported in recent times.
I think gradually we are beginning to come closer. We are gradually beginning to understand ourselves that all of us, the management committee, the ministry, indeed the National Assembly at large, we are all serving the same purpose. We are all looking forward to see how can we ameliorate the well-being of the citizens of this nation. The bank being an outfit, a platform where industries, both small, medium, and large, can lay their hands, can look for salvation, can look for financing, can look for how can they enhance their businesses. That is why it's named even Bank of Industry. So, we are here to interact with you in terms of the extent to which you have been able to deliver your mandate over the years, and what challenges you have been having in between, and what measures that are you thinking. I want to believe that now is even a new dispensation. You have a new managing director, and just some few months ago, again, another new chairman was appointed, chairman of the board. So I want to believe that you must have articulated some measures to lift, the bank from where it used to be to another more desired position.
Executive Director, SME at BOI, Mr. Waheed Olagunju, is standing in for the Managing Director, Mr. Olukayode Ekpitan, who is away on other state matters. After working the guests through a brief history of the bank, he gives a report on the institution's performance in the last 17 years of their operation.
The Obasanjo administration felt that most state-owned enterprises were performing suboptimally, and there was the need to have them restructured. So it was under that restructuring arrangement that Bank of Industry came into being. So we've operated as BOI for the past 17 years. And we're delighted to report that in those 17 years, the bank has been able to impact positively on Nigeria's industrial landscape. Whereas in 37 years, NIDB was able to assist about 900 projects across the country to the tune of about 5 billion naira or so. But in the last 17 years, the bank has been able to grow its risk assets. As of December last year, we ended with about 620 billion naira. The accurate figures will be made available to you subsequently.
Some of the honorable members also have questions. Most of them are concerned about how more people can access small and micro credits.
From Ondo State, from Akwa Ibom, the coastal line, many of these people are naturally being affected because of the oil exploration and exploitation. They don't have good access to water, no light. Is there anything, these are people that are very vulnerable to everything, is there anything that the Bank of Industry is doing to assist these kind of persons, more so that they cannot come out? They are not, many of them are not vast in knowledge. They don't come out to make requests like people in the urban will do, come to the Bank of Industry to request for loan.
You see, these big enterprises, they are big enough to stand on their own. They can access funds locally and internationally. But the small, the micro and small businesses, they do not have such capacity. They cannot access funds from the conventional banks, with the commercial banks, and the microfinance banks. They are no-go areas for them because of the strangulating interest rates they charge. So I think that the Bank of Industry and our committee, both at the House of Reps and the Senate, will probably need to really sit down and look at the focus of the Bank of Industry, such that we really attack the issue of poverty and wealth creation at the appropriate level.
Mr. Waheed Olagunju goes ahead to talk about the categories of businesses they support.
In a nutshell, we support micro, small, medium, and large enterprises. Some of the large we've done include flour mills and Honeywell and Nestle. But before we do the large, we always try to ensure that there are SMEs in their supply chain. Like Nestle, for instance, before we supported Nestle, we promoted or we assisted a medium-sized enterprise that produces salt. So instead of Nestle importing salt, they buy salt from that medium-sized enterprise that we supported. The Honeywell and flour mills too, we ensure that they patronize some cassava processors who we support at the micro, small, and medium level while producing composite flour, because they import largely wheat to produce flour. But the federal government introduced a program whereby they're supposed to reduce importation of wheat about, and then blend wheat with cassava flour with about 10 or 20%. By so doing, that will stimulate more primary production in cassava that is grown across the country. So those are examples of how we try to ring-fence MSMEs around large enterprises so that they're in their supply chain. We know that a number of Nigerians too say they have challenges securing their loans, because out of every 10 that come to most DFIs, including BOI, 8 believe they're coming for their share of national cake, and they try to make noise that the loans are difficult to access. But that's because most of them want to come with the mindset of taking the money and not paying back.
Without much ado, the party leaves the BOI headquarters and heads out to see the projects.
The agricultural sector due to limited processing and preservation capacity. This results in high food prices and food importation with its attendant effects on the nation's foreign reserves. To enable Nigerians optimize the benefits from the country's vast agricultural products such as cassava, oil palm, rice, tomatoes, and others. The Bank of Industry has launched a 5 billion naira cottage agro-processing fund, the CAP Fund. Customers can access the fund to establish plans to process our various agro-produce into food products or intermediate raw materials for industries at a single-digit interest rate of 9% per annum. For more information on the CAP Fund, please visit www.boinigeria.com/capfund. Bank of Industry, developing Nigeria's agro-processing industry through the CAP Fund.